Question. If a man rips out another man's throat in a bar fight and nobody's around to yell, Roadhouse, did it even happen? Today, we are diving deep, like shirtless roundhouse kick to the soul deep, into Roadhouse. Not just the OG Patrick Swayze mullet masterpiece, oh no, but also the 2024 remake where Jake Gyllenhaal goes full UFC philosopher. Which was better? Did the remake live up to the original? We're breaking it down today. Bar brawls, bad guys, bro energy, and beyond. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Reel Bromance podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 8 of the Reel Bromance podcast.
Woo!
FaceOff. This episode, for episode 8, is FaceOff. The Road Less Housed. We're going to be comparing the two Roadhouses, the 1989 cult classic and the 2024 remake.
Wait. You mean to tell me we're talking about two movies in one episode?
2 movies, 1 episode. It's a 2-for-1 special.
Wow, that is like a good value on podcast listening, if you ask me.
Especially today's day and age.
Exactly. You get just one episode at the cost of free for 2 movies. Oh, we got to talk to somebody about this.
Ain't real.
So, this should be a good episode. The first time we're doing something like this, and we'll probably do a few more. In a world of remakes and unoriginal ideas, it's only about time we had to come back to something like this.
No one comes up with new ideas anymore. They just steal.
Yep. I will say this as so here's an issue I had recently with a remake like this. It was I just went to see this weekend the How to Train Your Dragon live action.
Wait, if
Yep. And I gotta say, I thought it was terrible. So my issue with it was it brought nothing new. It was so. I wouldn't even call it scene for scene. I call it frame for frame. How it was original.
But just with live
action
and CG dragons.
Yeah, the dragons are still CG. Yeah, you can see Toothless's butthole now or something, but it's still an animated dragon. So and my issue is, like I said, it's not. It just doesn't have the same magical feel, and there's certain things I just can't do with live action. So the only saving grace of the whole thing was Gerard Butler redoing his own role as the father there. God, why can't I think of his name?
You're killing me too.
Man,
I don't know.
How did I lose that? Wow. Well, it's not the movie. It's not about. But anyway, the point is, he was definitely the highlight. He did a great job playing both roles. But so at least in going back to this episode here, I can say that even though it was a remake and had some similarities and some like parallels, it offered a refreshing take.
I think it brought something new to it. I mean, because I'm a fan of the original Roadhouse, and I even enjoyed this movie. A lot of people are saying like, "Oh, it's not the original." I understand,
yeah.
And I'm a big, I'm a big proponent of it's not the original.
Yeah.
I thought it was something different. It was entertaining. Once again, you're going to the movies to be entertained. This one only came out, unfortunately, on Amazon Prime, but
yeah,
it was still. I thought it was entertaining. It was worth the watch. So
agreed, and we'll make sure to get into that. But I do have to, we don't do this very often on the show, but I think I have to put in a breaking news segment. So as weird as right now, I'll let you guys in on behind the curtain. It is June 16th. We're recording this episode, and just last week we heard of a long-awaited sequel. Speaking about unoriginal things, my bad. This one I don't mind. We are getting Spaceballs 2 officially, finally. Teaser came out last week. What do you know? As being one of our favorite movies of all time, I think we had to talk about this for a sec.
Big deal.
All right, how do you feel about it?
I'm super excited.
I'm so hopeful. Here's the way I look at it, and I remember hearing some other people talk about this too. The fact that Rick Moranis was completely retired from
acting. Wasn't going to come back.
He didn't come back for any previous roles. They've asked him for other stuff.
He did a mint mole lad. That was it.
What did he do?
He did a mint mole lad.
Yeah.
Right. Reynolds.
And that was it. And so my point is, I feel like if he didn't believe that this movie could be funny and good, he wouldn't have done it. He didn't need to come back for any reason. So the fact that they got him back is making me incredibly hopeful. There's also Josh Gad is in it, and there's rumors he's going to be Barf's kid, which I could see. I'm okay with that.
I'm all right with that too. It's going to be tough too. Yeah. There's a lot of the actors, John Candy, Joan Rivers are not there. We lost them, unfortunately.
but they are getting Princess Vespa back and Bill Pullman as Lone Star, which is good. So they got. My biggest concern and fear at this point is it's still like I think 2 years out or just shy of 2 years out, and I just please I hope
Mel Brooks
makes it, because like he needs. I'm sure the script's probably almost written or fully written, so that's not a problem. But I need to see him as Yogurt, so I hope they film his scenes first. Yeah, because he's definitely said he's going to be coming back as Yogurt. I hope I be so disappointed if he doesn't make it to this. So everyone protect Mel Brooks.
They're all
98 last time I checked.
The man's a national treasure, anyways.
So that was my breaking news segment. But yes, incredibly hopeful here. We've talked about this movie a few times. This is one of the most quoted movies between me and you that we use. So yeah, I thought. All right, now back to a regularly scheduled program. So back to Roadhouse. So yes, we will. So this episode we will do couple quick recaps of both movies because it may be a little while since they've seen the. Mullet Swayze version, and maybe people haven't gotten around to seeing the Amazon one, the new one yet. But so we'll do a couple of quick recaps, then we'll talk some discussion, especially into breaking it down between the two versions. We'll go through some of the character parallels, some of the story parallels. Then we'll do the usual, guessing each other's favorite scene. Of course, this will be for a twofer, one for each movie, and then each movie will get a score on the Brometer. That's pretty exciting. So we'll see. And that'll be the definitive decision between us on which we think each is the better movie based on our scores on the Brometer. Stay tuned as we do the recap.
Movie recap.
So we're recapping 1989's Roadhouse.
Nice.
So legendary cooler or bouncer or cooler.
And what does he drink?
He drinks a Coors. A Coors. Legendary cooler Dalton.
I'm sorry, I was premature on that.
You
go ahead.
Premature cooleration. So legendary cooler Dalton decides he's traveling around. He's been known for handling bouncing at many different fine establishments.
Let me interrupt real quick. Can we describe to the audience what a cooler is? They may not be familiar with that. I know what a bouncer is. You stop people getting into a bar. What is a cooler?
So a cooler is someone that usually it's funny because Patrick Swayze actually changed the way nightclub security is handled because of this movie. Nightclub security changed because of this movie.
Wow.
So the cooler he goes in there and basically cools down situations because when you're in a nightclub, people are drinking. It gets pretty hot and heavy. People start possibly pulling weapons, possibly getting out of hand. His job is in there to go in there and kind of calm the situation, basically like negotiate or calm the situation down to the best of his ability and get them outside.
I would have called him a de-escalator.
Well, once again, we're talking about 1989, but now we go to cooler is just a
cooler.
It's a cooler name.
I get it.
It's a cooler name.
De-escalator. Yeah, it's like a broken down, some kind of staircase.
De-escalator, exactly. So he goes down to Jasper, Missouri to has a job offer down there to work at the Double Deuce.
Yes.
Which is a roadhouse. Goes there because it's going downhill quick. The town is overrun by an evil, maniacal man trying to make a buck.
Aren't they all?
And of course the roadhouse is the last thing standing in his way. And Dalton comes down there to make things right. He ends up doing a fantastic job. They've tried thugs, lugs, all different kinds of people to get him out of there. They finally send in one crazy guy named Jimmy, who is
Crazy Jimmy.
We all know Crazy Jimmy.
It's Jimmy.
Which leads to an epic fight. And of course, there's a romance between the doctor and it gets hot and heavy between them. And long story short, Dalton does save the day, ends up saving the roadhouse, and he kind of moseys on down the road. And they made terrible, terrible, terrible sequels called Roadhouse 2, Take It Outside.
Really?
And there was another one too, and I stopped looking. I don't even know them, but they did make a second.
That's Swayze.
Not with Swayze, it's Dalton's kid. But it was Roadhouse 2, Take It Outside. That was the name of the movie.
Nice, gotcha. That was actually not the movie title. That was just their suggestion. Just go outside and do something. Watch this movie.
Instead of watching this movie.
And so you've got one minor part in this.
What's that?
The Coors.
Oh, I forgot. Legendary.
So where does Dalton become? Like, where do you?
Yeah, legendary Wade Barrett, who's played by Wade Garrett. Sorry, played by Sam Elliott.
Coors.
We like him. Yeah,
we like him.
Comes in and offers him a Coors.
He does. He does just come in and ask for a beer. I assume it's going to be Coors. That's be
Coors. Ice cold Coors.
Yeah. So he comes in. He's basically the one that taught
Dalton everything
he knows, which I thought was funny because like. I get it. Sam Elliott's cool, and he's got he's got that presence about him. But like when you see him and Dalton together, he's just so wiry. I feel like he shouldn't have been as good at doing what he did as he was. I feel like he didn't seem like someone to be intimidating.
But I think he learned. He was Dalton's mentor, but Dalton was more cooler than Sam. Like Sam Elliott was like he always tried to be like he taught Dalton a lot, but Sam was always more quick to anger, more so less Dalton. Yeah. And Dalton was more kind of like the new age kind of cooler. Be nice.
So it's time to not be
nice. Exactly. It's great. It's classic.
That was good. I think you found that up pretty well. So I'll take over for the remake. And now judging from the fact that you said there was a sequel, now I see why they made it a remake, because they wanted to get away from the sequels as much as possible. So in the remake, it stars Jake Gyllenhaal as the title character Dalton. I believe they changed his first name in these movies. I think in this one he was Edward something.
Right, and in the original Roadhouse, his name was James, actually, James Dalton.
Oh, that's James.
But you didn't know that. It's never mentioned in the movie. The only way you know it is if the one scene where after he gets into a fight, he's in the hospital, and you can see the paperwork. You can see his name, James, on the paperwork. Really? So that's the only reason why you know it's James.
So in this one, his name is Elwood. So they make a mention of him a couple times, not a lot, but yeah. So okay, that makes sense. So basically, similar premise here. We have different backgrounds for these guys, but in this movie, Dalton is not a legendary bouncer at first. He is actually an infamous UFC fighter. He was known by those who know him for killing his opponent in the ring. Furthermore, he actually is supposed to be his friend, and he just got so angry during the fight, he just took it out and he literally pummeled the opponent to death. And of course, that haunts a man. So from then on out, we meet him, and this point, I assume sometime, they don't really specify too much, but a few years later, maybe a couple years later, he's basically going to different underground fighting arenas, and he basically just intimidates people. He'll go to these fighting arenas, wait till there's like a huge pot because there's an undefeated fighter, then to basically show up. And even the first scene of the movie, Post Malone is actually the fighter he's going against, and as soon as he sees Dalton and he knows who he is, it's like, I'm not fighting him, I'm out, and he gets the money. Yeah. So it was just, that's what he does. And so this reputation brings about the owner of, wait for it, the Roadhouse.
The Roadhouse. No clever name.
Yeah, out of I think he's in the Key West, Florida. Florida Keys.
Yeah, in a fictitious island glass key, which isn't an actual key in the
that we know of yet. Yeah. So she is hearing about this brawler, so she hires him for a job, saying, same type of thing as the original, where they're getting roughed up at their bar and they need someone to help out, and they've been going through bouncers and things, and they want to try him out. So he's down. He's reluctant. One of the we kind of see him as a much darker place than the original Roadhouse. Like the beginning of the movie, he actually contemplates killing himself basically by letting him train. Hit his car, with him in it. Last minute, he decides to, pull out and be like, yeah, maybe I'll keep living. And he does, barely. The train does nick his car, ends it, and he decides to take the job. So we see him in Florida. He arrives, makes friends with some locals, gets the job at the bar, and pretty soon makes a name for himself. He takes out the first group of thugs that come in and try to take the place out. And the story unfolds. We learn that the same type of thing. The big baddie of the movie, Brant, he is hiring thugs to try to intimidate the owner of the Roadhouse, which is actually called the Roadhouse of this. So that was, you have to remember name a second bar. It's not Double Deuces. It's just the Roadhouse.
Name of the bookstore in And the name of the restaurant next to the bookstore in this movie is called the Double Dudes.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool bad. Definitely had to be some homage in there somewhere. So that's cool. So basically, you lose a train of thought, man.
Sure.
Where we were talking about stuff and. Oh, yeah. So the Roadhouse, see how he makes a name for himself. He finds out that the big bad of the movie is basically trying to turn that island into like a giant like resort kind of a thing for his drug buddies and everything else to have just have their own island. And through his investigation of crooked cops and crooked townspeople and everything else, he finds that he won't stand for this. He's gonna take him down. And of course, just like in the original movie, after going through his run-of-the-mill thugs, he the big baddie gets called in, and this one is a doozy. This is Conor McGregor as the big baddie, and this one his name is Knox. It makes it definitely intimidating. So he's the big baddie this one, and of course their first bout, he hands Gyllenhaal, Dalton, his butt in a fight, and he's actually about to leave. He's, he knows that they're trying to push him to snap again. He just doesn't want to be angry again. He's trying to, doesn't want to return to that person he was in the UFC. So he's going to leave, but they make a fatal mistake because the thugs decide to pay a visit to his friends in the local bookstore, who's the first stop he made in town, and they trash the place and hit and
they burn it down. And very similar in the original Roadhouse, he made friends with an auto parts guy named Red, and the baddie burned down the auto parts store. So now they burned down the bookstore. So auto parts were burning down books. Yeah.
So they got the books, and they actually attacked the father-daughter owners, which the daughter was a young girl. So that made him mad. This made him snap, and he goes basically berserk on the bad guys. Now he's ready. He's not going anything back. They got. They want to get nuts. He's getting nuts.
He starts to rack up the body count.
He does, yeah, pretty quickly.
With no kind of scruples.
Yeah, no scruples whatsoever. And it was pretty good. So he goes through, and at the end of the day, he basically he goes to the bad guy's main boat, takes him out, and a huge boat chase ensues, and of course they all have to end up back at the Roadhouse. That's where the boats crash and they fight, and Dalton is finally able to take down Knox in some brutal fashion, which is awesome, and Knox ends up actually taking out Brandt before he fights. So everything's wrapped up in a nice little package. So with that being said, Dalton decides to move on from the town, knowing that his job is done. The money he actually obtained from the bad guy, he gave to the father-daughter at the bookstore so they could live happily ever after. And just like the Western that his character is compared to by the bookstore's daughter, he moseyed off into the sunset. And that's the last we see of him in this movie.
Till Roadhouse 2 comes
up. Roadhouse 2, The Search for One Life. And also as a post-credit, which is cool, Knox, turns out who did not die. Shows him running out of walking pretty confidently out of the hospital.
Conor McGregor's trademark walk.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he survived too. So if they did make a sequel to this, we still have both characters alive and well and kicking. So that is our recap. I think that was good, thorough. So quick reactions. There's definitely some parallels between the two movies, in a good way.
Yeah, no, definitely parallels. I think, we were talking about this before. You're taking something from 1989, you're taking something from 2024. Of course, you're looking at 2024, it's more modern, it's easier to identify with. 1989 is tougher to identify with, but
yeah.
Roadhouse, commercially a flop when it first came out, the first one in 1989.
I could see
in the theaters. Yeah. Because Swayze thought he was going to he was going to have another hit on his hands after Dirty Dancing. And when they
very different movie, too.
But different movie, but he was a big name. Like even one of the original taglines for the 1989 movie was "The dancing is over, now we get dirty."
Oh,
so it's
so
they thought they were gonna, and it wasn't until it started being released on VHS and it started being released on TV that became a cult following.
Interesting.
But you're taking this movie, and this one didn't go into the theaters, even though it was supposed to originally. When it was supposed to go into the theaters, and they got cold feet, and Amazon's like, we're just going to release it release it streaming.
Interesting. Given the proper marketing for this, I think it could have done. I'm sure it would have done decently at theaters.
They were worried that because the other one was a flop, and also once again, people, it's the original. It's Patrick Swayze. It's Roadhouse. You're trying to compare like a cult classic to people were.
I guess. See, to me, I would think of it as it'd be hitting that sweet spot where, since it's so old of a movie, you get the people like, all right, there's original, and maybe curious enough to watch it. They could be hating it, but also it's not rooted in the original so much that new people who've never even heard of the original would be like, this is like a cool movie with Jake Gyllenhaal in it. And you're kicking some snot out of people. So I think it could. Would it have been $1 billion? No, but I would like to have thought it'd be a modest success at the box office and then take off again.
You know, a movie they did actually release that originally was supposed to be reversed. It was supposed to be this movie was released in the box office. The other movie was supposed to come out streaming.
Why?
The Beekeeper with Jason Statham.
Oh, God.
Was supposed to be that was supposed to go directly streaming. This was supposed to release in the theater, and I decided to flip it.
I haven't even seen the movie, and I don't. There's no way. Yeah, this just should have been the one they did. That's crazy.
Come on, this is my Jason Statham.
I liked him the first time when he was in the Transporter, and then when he's in the other movie, where he's the exact same guy again, but then he just drives less cars, and then he still fights and he does this. I like him a lot. Like, remember Crank? That was a crazy movie too. Less cars, more Crank, and Amy Smart. But it was, yeah. So I like Jason Statham, but like, I feel like this one was different, because also, how many Jake Gyllenhaal movies are there where I feel like he's done such an array of.
He's done a lot of movies, but he doesn't he doesn't saturate the market with his movies, which I think is I think is good of an actor nowadays, because then you get those actors that just oversaturate. They do every single thing.
He's not Jason Statham. It's he oversaturated and everything.
Yeah.
So all right. So that was our recap. I think we have some things we want to dig deeper into the discussion. So stay tuned.
Romantic discussion.
And we're back. So this is the time where we have our romantic discussion. In this episode, this will be interesting because we're going to spend a lot of the discussion kind of comparing and contrasting. Not with each other, but the movies, the original and the remake. First off, I think I'll get the ball rolling, as they say. Character-wise, Dalton, Swayze, Gyllenhaal. In your opinion, first off, I guess I'd say, do you think they were similar or different, and which one did you like better?
I think they were different. If you're going, it depends on what. But once again, I go back to 1989 versus 2024. If you're looking for more realistic, I feel like Swayze's your guy.
Really, Swayze.
Because Gyllenhaal, how many people can identify with Gyllenhaal versus are you talking we're talking identifying are you a UFC fighter? Are you training UFC? Have you maybe you are, I don't know, maybe that's what you do in your off time.
Yeah, I see you in Ultimate Food Championship where I eat like no one's business.
Oh, Ultimate Food Championship, yeah.
You didn't really talk about what UFC you were talking about.
That's true.
If you're talking about the fighting one, yeah, no,
probably not. So I mean, I think people can identify more with Swayze, but I think if you're looking for a good action star and a good a cool concept, I think Gyllenhaal's pretty cool. I think the concept of Gyllenhaal, I like this movie for the concepts and how it brought in he was a UFC fighter. He didn't really have that background. This is kind of his last attempt. He kind of at redemption. Swayze was your typical guy in the 80s, your Uncle Mort, I had a bunch of different jobs. I traveled here, traveled there just to find myself, and this is what I did.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? Even in the, I don't know, I don't even remember when they brought it up in the movie. He's got a degree in philosophy from NYU.
A PhD?
No, it's just a degree in philosophy. I don't even know if it's
That's pretty funny though. I guess that kind of.
But that makes sense when he talks about be nice and his concept of bouncing and being a cooler. That makes sense. That's more identifiable. I can't identify with being a UFC fighter, but I think it's pretty badass and pretty cool for the movie.
Yeah, your philosophy degree really shines through.
Not my. I mean, it's my fault. education degree
Yeah, no,
in communication.
I mean, I can see what you mean because if my recollection is correct, in '89 especially, I had a really, really nice mullet and svelte body, and I looked like I was like, so basically watching it was like looking in a mirror. It's like, I could do this. I could do that. I could philosophize. I could be nice until it's not to be nice. You know, that was me. So I agree with you. So
That's just that's my take on it.
no, I get it. Okay, so I'll answer this. I like both characters. I think, see, it's funny. I think I'm the opposite. I think Gyllenhaal seems more like the common, like someone I'd expect to see in real life, even if it was '89, like just someone who's kind of fighting and do this sort of thing, or boxing probably back then, but same kind of thing. Whereas, like, you know, I don't know how many professional bouncers who travel the land and coolers travel the land. You know, they were. I mean, it's okay. I could see. You know, it's both. I'll say this right off the bat. Both, I'd say, are grounded in reality. Like neither of them were like crazy, like out of the blue. I would just say I think I can identify with Gyllenhaal more because, you know, as someone who had anger issues and, you know, did something he really regrets, and, you know, that just all fits well. And don't get me wrong, Swayze had anger issues too, but I almost feel like his was like ripping a guy's throat out, which is like, that's brutal. And whereas Gyllenhaal, like, his was brutal, but it was in the context of a fight already. I almost think he's a little too hard on himself in a lot of ways. Like, you know, you're in a fight already. You're in like his thing, so it's kind of like that's the risk you take for both players here. So it sucks that the you know, he killed his opponent, but at the same time, it's like you're in a visceral fight. It's kind of the part.
You're in a visceral fight, but you're also talking about Swayze doing it as a, you know, as a bouncer, as a cooler, like in real life, like in a UFC fight, like really the ref should have stopped that fight. As soon as he got the knee to the face and the guy went down and he got 2 punches, like he should have stopped. There was no ref to be seen until after he got like 6 or 7 hammer blows to the head, and then the ref came in and got, I mean, even in UFC, they stopped the fight as soon as like that goes down. This wasn't like early 2000s UFC where anything went, you know?
So even still, so I feel like, you know, the odds in a real life situation, if you took 1,000 bouncers and 1,000 UFC fighters, and you had to see if which naturally would occur again, I think there'd be far less throat ripping and more severe beatings and concussions and things like that if it wasn't given. But you know, once again, so I'll go back to it. I do think the '80s one was good. His character was good. I do appreciate both characters having the, you know, the be nice mentality. Like, I loved particularly Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, the first fight when he's just like, you know, do you have health insurance, dental?
That's a great thing.
I love it because it's like he's joking, but he's not too on some level. He's like, you know, he really doesn't want to hurt these guys. He really just likes to, you know, and then he he drives him to the hospital. Like, that's awesome. I love that at the end. He's like, "Oh, they're your friends?" Nah, I just broke his arm. But like, it's just like, so I liked his likability as a character. It almost seems funny because like he's so likable when he's not angry. It's almost hard to believe that he could snap to be that angry, but it works. It worked for him.
I think, and once again, people can probably identify with that. I think, especially nowadays, people can identify with, you know, being pushed. He even says it. He's like, it takes a lot to get me angry, but when I do, you know.
I could see that. Like you put it best when he like snapped. It's almost like the movie Falling Down.
Yeah,
Michael Douglas. Which
it turns to falling in.
Yeah, that was good. It basically was like that. It was just no going back for him at that point. Anything else? Do you think you had these two?
No, I think, like I said, it really depends. Like, I feel like the Dalton in 1989, like I said, a little bit more realistic to me. But I was saying, like, the 2024 one, for what it is nowadays, is much more interesting.
Yeah. Again, like,
there's much more layers. There's a lot more layers to him.
Like an onion?
Like an onion.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, like an onion.
Like an onion, not a parfait.
It was like a parfait.
Parfaits are delicious.
They're delicious. Okay, so let's go the opposite side here. Let's go to like the big baddies, not necessarily the lead. This will be quick. Let's go to the lead baddies. Brandt versus what was it? It was Wesley. The first movie. So they're both like not really fighting guys, more of the money behind situation. In terms of like more menacing bad guy, I put the original Wesley.
Oh yeah,
They made Brandt like the new one.
He just pissed me off. To be honest with you,
like a whiny little like, you know, idiot. It didn't work for me. And in fact, they talk so much about his father being like the the original bad guy that he did. I wish it showed him. I wish actually because I feel like he would have. They could have an opportunity to make a good presence. And I wish it got to that because that would have been good. But yeah, him is just.
But once again, Hollywood did it again. Yeah. They made us care. They made us not like the guy. They gave him the heat that he needed to.
And it's funny because it's not like the heat like of like a normal like, oh, this guy's intimidating, I'm scared. No, it's like somebody shut this one guy up. Like, yeah, he was really one. So I'll give him. You're right. Like the actor did a good job. I think of what he was given, and the role is good. But I think in terms of like more menacing, like I felt the original had it. Now switching gears a little bit to the main like bad fighty guys. Knox versus was it Jimmy Reno? Jimmy Reno's in the original. Mm-hmm. What's your take between those two, Knox and?
It's gonna be an unpopular opinion because I think,
Years are.
I know. I think that Marshall R. Teague, who played Jimmy Reno, did a great job as the actor. That's the actor who played him. Mm-hmm. Did a great job as the bad guy. And this is gonna be an unpopular opinion. I think Conor McGregor. I love Conor McGregor's character in this movie in the remake. I think you talk about like layers and like acting wise,
all of his layers were crazy.
He was just see, even the head bad guy was like the psycho again. He says it at one time. I thought it was entertaining. He was entertaining in the movie. I thought it was over the top fun. Like as a bad guy, like I was cheering for like Jimmy, and the other one was like once again more based on reality. Like one of his tough like ex-con type guys, which I don't agree. It was just. Straight, like at one point he steals a taxi and rams it into the thing. He walks in and goes, "Where the F is everybody?" Yeah.
But even the first scene too, he has his Lamborghini, he drives it everyone's bike. The biker gang is like all over their bikes.
Yeah,
they knocked over all of our bikes.
Yeah, and a lot of people. I talked about this with a few other people who saw the original and saw this. They're like, I hated Conor. He was such a good. That's what he was supposed to be. But he was an over the top bad guy, and he just kind of just keeps coming.
Phrasing. What I like, here's what I like about it too, because with the character in the original, Reno almost seemed like a mirror image of Dalton. Like,
what's your thing was supposed to be like yin and yang, yeah.
And in this one, Knox was like a friggin' like he's a polar opposite. Like they were.
Oh yeah.
Like, and
similar to what in both movies. But yes, you're right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say like so the contrast between the characters. So in the first movie, I'd almost be like. Dalton was fighting like a mirror image of himself, but fighting styles are the same. Everything they almost looked similar, both slender. That was it. And in this one, Knox represented to me just this bigger brute. If anything, if you want to get on a deeper level, if we're going to philosophize this a little bit, I'd almost say Knox represents the anger within Dalton in this one. Like Knox is almost the raging beast that's sitting inside Dalton that he keeps at bay, like 99% of the time. And I think that's what I could see that. But as normal human beings walking around, Knox is just an animal. Like he has no niceties, nothing about him. Like he just from the first everything every scene he was in, he caused some kind of chaos.
Yeah.
Whereas every scene that Gyllenhaal's in, his Dalton, he was just very calm, cool, collected until he finally snapped. And even in snapping, he was still somewhat civil in his snapping. Yeah. Like he wasn't just ripping himself off
until the final fight scene.
Yeah.
Where he just loses his
and it was still forced, but like even then he didn't just like slash the guy's face. He literally just stabbed him in the same way that he was getting stabbed. Like he just almost. So yeah, no, I think so. I will say the fighting henchmen were very different in both movies. I think I liked it. I liked Knox better too. So I don't think it's a popular answer. I like Knox better. I think the fact that he had this like fearsome, just animalistic like rage going on, and then like I said, to me it was like and always, if I was Dalton, I'd be looking at him as being like, this is what I could be if I let myself go crazy. Yeah. And he's not. So I like that. I don't know if they meant to make it that deep, but that's what I thought.
I think that's true too. And I think a lot of people like Conor McGregor was a very polarizing figure in UFC too. Like people either loved him or hated him. He was a big time, jerk in UFC. Like coming out, he has that trademark, like where his arms are. When he walks to like the ring and everything like that. And I think that kind of I think that's what they were kind of going for.
Yeah, it works for the movie.
And I think it worked. UFC, like, but I think thinking about it the way you just said it is true. It's like you have Dalton nice, caring about everyone. Hey, do you have insurance? Meanwhile,
Driving him to the hospital.
yeah, driving to the hospital. Meanwhile, Knox like is knocking people over, causing chaos in every single scene he's in. Like saying something, doing something to cause some kind of chaos. Was
The other thing too, the side of going back to like wanting to go see Brant's father is that in the movie, Knox was Brant's henchman. He's the one that called him in behind the scenes. So it makes me wonder. It makes me want to meet the father more. Yeah. So it's like his main henchman. Even the son was like, "This guy's a psycho." Yeah, I'd love to see what kind of guy the father was. He must have been like a monster too. So yeah, so I got one more comparison we can go over. You got but like in terms of fight choreography versus between this one and the original. Original's probably a little more campy. This one's a little more realistic. But what would you?
The best part is like in the original one. So in the original one, they were trained by Benny, and I'm gonna slaughter his name. You guides.
Yeah, you slaughtered it.
Yeah, I did. But he actually holds 9 black belts in 9 different disciplines. So he trained all the actors in the original one, and he thought so much of Patrick Swayze's skills in like kickboxing that he told him he should go to be a professional kickboxer.
Patrick Swayze had fighting skills before the movie, right?
I don't know if he did more dancing. He was more dancing, but he trained hard. Like the training in this, like if you go back and look at it and like there's interviews and stuff like that. Even Sam Elliott said like he's like I got the effing shit kicked out of me for the entire film. Swayze even said he's like I don't know if I'm going to survive getting through this movie. Like that's how tough like they actually went in on each other. Like the fight scene the final fight scene in the original one took 71 takes in 5 days to film.
Wow.
And
it's in the water, like where he
the final fight scene between him and Jimmy. And Patrick Swayze and Marshall, like they got so comfortable with one another that they were actually throwing they were comfortable throwing real punches at one another. And in one scene, he actually hits Patrick Swayze with a log. He thought it was a fake log. He actually broke 2 of his ribs. Wow. Patrick Swayze's ribs. Like that's how crazy like those fights. Now in contrast, now you're looking at 2024. Now this, once again, 1989.
Yeah.
Realistic stunts. Everyone did their own stunts in the film. They all pushed for it. There was a scene, in one scene, Swayze wanted to dive and tackle Jimmy off the bike, and Swayze was pushing hard for it, and he wouldn't let him do it. He had to do a stunt. Patrick Swayze wanted to do it. Now, they were still trained. So, Jason Walsh was a renowned trainer, trained Gyllenhaal, UFC, like went through like a whole like nutrition, all this kind of prep to do this role. But now they use something different in this one. They use CG body doubles, and it's called a multi-pass method now with like making movies. So what happens is it takes away like in most the old Hollywood movies, there's that camera angle, the shot from behind. Somebody throws a punch, it looks like they shake the head, they go down. And it doesn't happen anymore. Now it looks more realistic. So the seamless punches, so like the doubles are switched in for a few frames and then boom, it switches right back to like the actors. So it's a little bit different. Like, well, it's still like, once again, it's kind of like WWE. It's still dangerous. They're still like throwing, but it's a little different. You're talking about people doing like practical stunts in 1989 versus this. Yeah. I thought it looked realistic. I thought the fights looked pretty good in this.
I will say, since you mentioned that, like in this movie in general, the new one for the CGI stuff, including the car getting hit by a train, but especially in some of the fights, I did notice like a blurry, like a muddiness to it. So I think that you're talking about, I think that's this fight scenes. Like whenever it was like a fast motion, there's definitely like a muddy blur to it.
It's a few seconds of the double, and then boom, it goes back to Gyllenhaal and it goes back to McGregor.
So now that you mentioned, I can notice that, right? The original is definitely more snap, like it is crystal clear. Whereas now I think they do, you could tell there's CG in there and they blur it out a little bit.
But once again, 89, 2024. What are you expecting? Like, Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs in the 94 version looked pretty good.
Real. Yeah. I mean, like, not real, but
animatronic, versus now everything is CG. You know what I mean?
But I don't know if there's a budget for this movie too, though. I think especially with the train scene, like getting hit in the car, like that was, I'd almost be like, that was like 2011 Smallville episode CGI. Like it was like, it wasn't big budget CGI.
But I think they put the movie into, because I mean, the car getting hit by the train is not what Roadhouse is all about. It's about the bar brawl. So I mean, they
I was in
play.
it for the train.
You were in it for the train, and the car striking the train,
It was really good.
and the train striking the car.
It's my favorite scene. Or was it?
I don't know. Yeah, we'll find out later.
Yeah. So I guess I just I do think it goes to show you that's how much it's in today's world, how too heavily they rely on CGI for stuff. I think it doesn't look better.
It takes its. I mean, like making like people think like, oh, they're an actor. It takes its toll on me.
Sure.
He Patrick Swayze passed up on what movies he passed up on. Because his knee was bothering him from Dirty Dancing. Oh. He screwed it up. Like at one point during Roadhouse, he had to get like 21 ounces of fluid drained from his knee because it was still bothering him.
Wow.
He passed up on. These are two movies that you actually like. He passed up on. Can you guess one? One was.
Give me the time frame.
So we're looking at 80. So this came out in 89, 87, and 88.
These are action movies.
And one came out in 89. Yeah, they're two action movies. One's a little lesser known. One is.
Don't tell me Die Hard.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
So one was he was actually up for the role of Gabriel Cash in Tango and Cash.
Oh wow, that was the end of Kurt Russell.
Yeah. And then he was also up for this is gonna surprise you. He was up for the title role of Mike Harrigan in Predator 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Instead of Danny Glover.
Yeah.
You know what? Unless they changed. Was this when they're still gonna do In the Jungle?
I think so. Yeah.
In the Jungle,
Those were initial concepts. Yeah.
I would have bought Swayze. I feel like In the City, it needed to be Glover. I feel that worked.
Glover was great in Predator.
Well, Predator 2 gets a lot of crap, but
I like Predator too.
I liked it a lot. It showed a lot more into like the Predators. Like,
yeah.
Sure. Tangent. All right, let's go back. So I could see. That's funny. Yeah. So Swayze passed up a lot.
He did pass up a riff.
I would say I don't think he made necessarily a wrong decision. None of those were like blockbuster crazy good hits for him. But
I mean, if he was in it, maybe they would have. But I mean, going off of what Roadhouse did, I don't know if he was. I mean, was he really even? I mean, he was always bankable. He did Ghost. He did it was more of like semi like the Leonardo DiCaprio of the time.
One movie? One of my first movies with him that I watched was Black Dog. That was it.
Dog, yeah.
As in the mid to late 90s, last movie. He passed away. He had cancer of some kind. I don't know if it was throat or something or maybe, but he had cancer. He passed away. But again, that and I thought that movie was over the. We should do an episode here on this. It was over the top. It was like that was definitely. That was funny. It's almost bringing like 80s campiness to 90s action.
Yeah.
It was like, but it was cool. Like he definitely rocked shit. And it was good. He was good. Yeah. I like that. And I couldn't believe that was the Dirty Dancing guy when I saw that.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? And now going to the 2024 version. So before Gyllenhaal was cast, and there was this has been in production hell for a little while.
I'd imagine, yeah.
Do you know who would have? They're talking about redoing it. Do you know who would have starred in it if they did it? If it ended up coming to fruition? There's talks.
So here's actors I could see doing it, and I don't know if they could be better, but I could see the role. Mm-hmm. Will Smith comes to mind. I feel like he
passed up on everything.
Yeah, he passed up on Neo for Wild Wild West. So, yeah, so I could pick is it him or no?
No.
All right. Otherwise, is it an action star?
No. Okay. Not a bankable action star.
Interesting.
Has been in action movies, but not a bankable action star.
Is it like a comedic actor?
Nope.
Okay.
Brought legitimacy to the UFC.
Well, in real life.
A UFC role. Yeah. I don't think you're not going to get this.
Who is it?
They were talking about doing Ronda Rousey as a gender swap, remake of this.
So
if they did it with the UFC, it would have worked.
Yeah. I get my issue. I don't want to get too, crazy into hot button topics here. But there's no reason for it to me. Like to do a spin-off, do something else. But if you're going to do a remake, keep it the original characters, or by all means, put her in a movie that's made for that character, everything else. But don't call it Roadhouse, because you're kind of throwing it off. To me, that's just a cash grab. Like you're using this title that people know to hopefully trick people into there, because it has to be a different story. Because everything.
To be honest with you, I don't know. She was in Expendables. She was in,
yeah, I think she can hold more in an action movie.
But I don't know as a lead. I don't know if she has the acting chops to hold it as a lead.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? She, just like McGregor, I could picture her being the bad guy in it. Yeah. Because even in WWE, she's never really convincing as the face. She was always, her better work was as a heel.
Yeah.
As a face, she was just almost too. Yeah, so I agree. Yeah, so she would have had to have been. That wouldn't have. Even accepting the gender swap for that, I don't think she would have been a good fit. Like, you needed she's not charismatic enough, and that's to me. Like, both cases, Dalton was incredibly charismatic, or as the kids would say, he had the riz to carry this movie.
I mean, I think Gyllenhaal had it. Like I said, Gyllenhaal's a good actor.
He was charming as hell, and so was Swayze. I mean, they both had very charming, personalities. So it worked for them. Like you said, it made sense for Swayze being like the cooler and how he talked and acted, and he was almost he was almost more calming, and Jake Gyllenhaal was too. But he was definitely that role. Gyllenhaal was just funny because he just seemed compassionate. Like he was just I said, he just cared. He really, just like Swayze, he avoided the fight, but also he seemed to care about people. But the better de-escalator, I'd say, was Swayze.
Yeah, I agree.
Who would win in a fight? Swayze's character versus Gyllenhaal's?
I think they'd both be too nice to each other. Would they even get
just play hands and walk into the sunset?
Yeah. Hey, be nice. Hey, yeah.
I'll be
nice. Yeah, you're right. You know what?
Do you take health insurance? I do. Oh, good. I'm happy. I go too.
Thank you.
Let's be buds. Can we become best friends?
Yeah.
Yep.
Want to go to karate in the basement? Yep.
All right. Say like this is really good bad guy who tricked them both, and they blew up each other's bookstore, and then
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to go with just on utter rage and probably skills. I'm gonna have to go with Gyllenhaal.
Oh wow, I thought you were gonna say Swayze. Because especially with the other, I figured like the throat rip was gonna get you. But
no, but the throat rip. But I think I think Gyllenhaal just like I think Dalton. I think it would be a good fight, but I think
yeah, I would say
they'd both be pretty beat up by the end of it.
They'd be pretty good. Yeah, I'd probably give the edge to Gyllenhaal too. Especially just because of the background. Like you said, Swayze was a cooler first, not a fighter, whereas this one was a fighter first and then give him a bouncer. So he knows fighting better, I would say. What bothers me in both these movies and we talk about is the most unrealistic part about both of these movies, and they kind of touch upon it. They make like one statement probably in this remake, and I think they made a couple statements before, but like he's using the excuse of not making it too messy. But I feel like in any other action movie, the guns would have been like the second move played and it would have been over. Like both of these guys, like especially when main characters, neither of them are carrying any kind of weapons. It's like he's literally bringing fists to a gunfight.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what would have happened. So it just even the one time they use a gun, one of the main scenes in this remake is when they try to get him to go into the car to go meet Brandt for the first time. He has a gun in his waistband, and he's like, "Oh, that's supposed to intimidate me." He's like, "Yeah," and his whole time he's walking closer to the guy to close the gap. When in real life, the guy would have already pulled the gun.
Yeah.
So instead, when he finally is close enough within range, then the guy pulls the gun, and of course he's gonna disarm him and break his fingers. But my point is, if that was any kind of real situation, that gun would have been pulled immediately. So I guess, yeah, so that's the only thing. And I get it. In a fighting hand-to-hand mainly movie, like you got to have your suspenders of disbelief, put them on, and keep your pants up.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. But that was just one thing I wanted to say. It's just these movies both heavily rely on the bad guy's unwillingness to pull a gun out.
But once again, you're going to the movies to be entertained, and if you're going to there to
not entertained.
And it was entertaining. I mean, both are entertaining. Both are so you have to suspend your disbelief for that time and understand. Like, hey, is this really going to happen? No.
Yeah, that's why I'll agree. It was entertaining. I just wanted to.
No, but you're right.
I thought it was the elephant in the room. I put it up.
It's like in the Indiana Jones scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that happened to be because Harrison Ford was sick, and the guy's like got the sword, he's swinging it around, just shoots him. Yeah, exactly.
It's funny, that one scene is probably the most realistic thing of any
movie ever. Yep.
No, you got anything else you want to discuss? You and your
No, I think we covered everything. The one funny thing that I did, doing the research for some of this was like that scene where Dalton lectures the staff at the Double Deuce from the 1989 movie about being nice to fight outside. They actually, another movie that they actually show that to police officers because, they talk about lecturing, like being nice and stuff like that. Like you said, a lot of police officers fall asleep during those lectures and when they talk about it. So, I mean,
That's funny.
I mean, if you think about it, even for me, like watching this again and again and seeing it, like, and doing what I do with, like, verbal de-escalation, working with special ed kids and stuff like that, like it is true. Yeah. Like, it'd be nice when you don't have to be nice. Now, granted, I can't take a kid and hit him in the head.
Yeah.
But you try to de-escalate a situation and it makes sense,
Catch more flies with honeys
than you do with vinegar. Yeah. Exactly, sure.
Unless you have shit, though. Honey poop. Big old thing of poop would catch a lot of flies, too. We should do that. We should put big pile of poop and honey and see what gets more flies.
Exactly.
We'll get back to you on that. I think... that was good. And I think, overall, I think I will say this, both movies, I should get a little bit of a reprieve on the latest one because it just came out, but both movies I had not seen before this episode. Yeah. So I did watch both for the first time very recently. So, I will say I liked both of them. I did watch the original first. It makes you wonder if I should have done like a swap where I should have watched the new one first and then that old one. But I think, I liked them both. I think I would have liked them both in either order. But, I thought that was interesting. So, I hadn't seen either of these. So I think that's it. I think the next thing will be to guess each other's favorite scenes for both movies. Stay tuned for that. I'm sure it'll be exciting.
Favorite scenes.
So now we're going to guess favorite scenes. I think we'll do each movie first. We'll do the favorite scene of the original, then we'll do the favorite scene of the 2024. So first, do you want to guess my favorite scene of the original?
I'm gonna go with since you just saw it, and it is kind of it's kind of an icon. It's kind of iconic. Is where he's actually giving the speech to the Double Deuce bartenders about the being nice and the rules, the 3 rules.
That's up there, but no. What I really like is I like the kind of the trope this is where I'm getting saved and you get to see how the badass. I really like Sam Elliott jumping in for the first time behind the bar. He talks in, gets a beer, is like, "Oh, where's in the back?" Oh, he walks out.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, "You want to fight, D-list?" Yeah. And that was just funny to me. So, and he's like, "I'm not going to show you my beer." And then he fights him, and you get to see Sam Elliott really, kind of rock it, and you can see why he's like. He saves Swayze, and I like that scene. I think that was cool. I mean, I also really like the final scene. I figured that was going to shoe in, but like the final scene, final fight in the order and the throat rip. That was cool. But I like this. I like it because you got to see this character come out and see what he can do. Because I didn't believe he was going to be able to do much when you first see him in like the bar.
And he doesn't cowboy voice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I like that. I like that. It's like I'm a sucker for scenes like that where there's like someone's like getting their butt kicked, but someone steps in at the right time, and so I like that. So. But you were right. The speech is good. That was a really good speech. So my guess for you was actually going to be the throat rip scene and the final bad guy.
It's a good scene, but no, my scene actually is your scene too. I love that scene.
Really?
Elliot, yeah. It's not. There's like things that I like about it. Like you said, like he's getting beat up there by Terry Funk, WWE wrestler. He's in that scene. And he made up that thing. He actually calls him chicken dick at one point too. But he's sitting there and he's getting beat up and he's like, he comes over, "You're right, Mio." That's like, yeah.
It's great. Yeah. Then the whole exchange.
And then after the whole thing is done, the guy, the character of Cody, who's like the blind guitarist for the thing, he goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, Wade Garrett." That was great. It's
a good character introduction.
Great character introduction, and Sam Elliott's just so freaking smooth and badass.
And needed that goes again because like you've already seen kind of Swayze do his thing and he goes, so you needed to have and for him to learn from the eye. Like it was a good job setting it up. Interesting. Same figures.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now we'll move on to the 2024 remake. I guess I'm going to guess yours first for this one. And do you have it? What you're thinking?
Yes, I do.
What I think is, and I could be wrong, and I could be just assuming a lot here, but I liked the scene though. It was funny, and I figured this way you like the movie and then what you've said about it. I think your favorite scene is introduction to McGregor where he's walking through naked Italy and he basically walking like he doesn't care, steals the guy's shirt, takes the call for the job, like, "What do you need?" And then that's like his introduction before driving away like a Lamborghini.
McGregor's.
I like that scene a lot too. but
And just come, yeah. I mean, and once again, it just sets it up for his whole character throughout the movie. Yes, that's like the great scene.
well, it's spoiler alert. I have to say, when I saw this movie, I was watching it on Amazon Prime. There, it said there was nudity. I'm like, oh, it's probably going to be women, because the first one I didn't know the nudity was McGregor's butt.
Yeah,
that was the only nudity in there was his ass, both times. So, yeah, you think am I right?
Yeah, the introduction of McGregor is freaking great. There's a lot of good scenes with McGregor. Yeah. Like, I think he kind of stole the movie. Like,
stole a lot of it. Yeah.
He's like, a tip for you. Never let people. That's what it is. Boom, and just headbutts the guy. Yeah, there's so many. Like I said, unpopular opinion, as I know a lot of people, he's very polarizing. But I just think he was great in the movie. Yeah. He's a bad guy I'd like to see again. Yeah. In a movie.
I'll say this: both of those characters, knowing that they survived and walked away, I wish they would. Like, I'd be okay with like a spin-off movie of just their characters. It doesn't need to be a Roadhouse movie. Yeah. Like, I just like Dalton. Him is Dalton. And him. They could just be. I could almost picture them fighting it out and almost having an comedy.
I mean, they could. The son died. I mean, you could see the father getting out of prison. Somehow getting out of prison, recruiting Knox again to get them there. Dalton's. God knows where.
Or even better, I could picture it'd be a cool thing where the father gets out and he's pissed because Knox killed his son. Yeah. And comes out, and then basically as a redemption arc for Dalton, he comes in.
He hires Dalton. Go after.
No, not like that. No. I could team up. Like Phil Dalton will come back and Knox and him will team up against someone else, reluctantly, of course.
Okay.
I could picture that.
Buddy cop movie.
Yeah. All right. So I guess my favorite scene in the remake.
Oh. Your favorite scene in the movie when he pulls the guys out and asks them if they have insurance.
Yep. Yeah. I love that. I love the whole scene. I'll even go up to the hospital somebody driving into the cut to the car. We're all in the car. Yeah, that was my favorite. I just love it because that was just like the first time you see it. And I'll say this too. I probably added some bias, but I said I hadn't seen this movie till very recently. But if I ever saw it on TikTok or YouTube, any of the clips, it was always that clip, and I'd watch it every time. Yeah. I see that at this point. I see that clip here, and I was like, yeah. And so that won me over for the movie. That's what made me want to see the movie. I just never got around to seeing it. Then when we remembered the episode, I was like, okay, good. I want to watch it. So this is what it was. But yeah, that's it. Nice. So we both won fun on that one. That's good. So I think that's pretty good. So next we'll rate these suckers. What do you think?
The barometer.
Hit the barometer coming up.
The Browometer.
And it's that time for the Browometer. That's right. This is the official movie rating tool used by the Reel Bros at the Reel Bromance podcast. This is a movie rating system from 0 to 100. 100 being the, oh my God, you got to see this with the best bro before you die. And 0 being, you can probably watch it if you want, but, it's on you. You can't blame us for it. So that being said, you want to go first? We'll do the same thing. We'll do the original.
Sure. And then
we'll go to the remake. So the original, what do you give it on the bro?
So the 1989 Roadhouse movie, a barometer. Once again, cult classic, cult following. I don't think it's everyone's cup of tea. I think,
not even a cup of coffee, really.
Yeah. Some of it can be some of it can be slow. But it's still like, I think it's something that you need to see at least once. Because there's a lot of pop culture. I mean, Family Guy has a whole episode based off of it.
Yeah, I've watched that episode a million times without seeing the whole movie.
Yeah, Roadhouse. You can't answer a phone, or order, or get change from a drive-through with it. But I put it as, so the original Roadhouse, I'm giving it an 83.
That's fair. Okay. I have no qualms with that. For my rating, I will say the same thing. I appreciate, especially now the campiness of the 80s. I liked Swayze's character. I liked the movie was entertaining enough for me. I appreciate its cult classic status. I am going to give it 3,000. I'm just kidding. No. My real score, of course, it doesn't go that high. It'd break the barometer.
Yes.
My real score is 78.
78.
So we're in the realm. I'm a C+, like a B-, B. Like it's good.
Why is 78? Like what doesn't do it for you? What don't you like about it?
It didn't have. So it was. It didn't push it in the 80s for me. Because it I felt like the plot was just overly simple. There was nothing crazy going on. There's not like super character growth that would push me, and the story was so. It was okay. I appreciated the action. I appreciated that. and it's 80s greatness. So that's kind of what kept it. If it had more of a plot to it or any kind of just more parts to it, I probably would have been like cool. But I feel like it was pretty predictable in a lot of ways and everything else. But like this is a 78 to me is still pretty.
But there's nothing wrong with the 78 score. I think you should, but it's just curious because like I agree with you. There's not a lot like Dalton's this mysterious figure that just kind of goes through, and there's a lot of thought for people like that. He's multiple characters in other films, and this kind of continues on.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
I'm not gonna get into all that, but yeah, no, there's not a lot, but it's a typical Western,
Yes.
He comes in as like the sheriff, he's trying to stop. There's a big bad bully. There's a bunch of bad guys. He saves town, and that's kind of it. So,
yeah, I feel like
I agree.
So going to the new one, I'll go first on this one. The remake, I give it an 82.
82.
So I put it high. To me, what pushed it past the 80s into a little more was I liked the character depth of Gyllenhaal a little better. I like that he had some real he had the trauma more. Like Swayze, you knew this stuff happened, but I didn't feel it. In this movie, he had dreams of it and everything else. Like he was living with the trauma. And in addition to that, I liked how the plot was a little more because it had it had the sub story with the girlfriend being the son of the daughter of the cop, the crooked cop, and thinking that they were gonna kidnap her, and then he found he really did kidnap her, and it got frothy up.
Oh, another double cross.
That was good. I liked that. This actually had just some depth and some thought to it. So that's what pushed it too. I would say it's very close to me, but I feel like the remake gets to be a little into the 80s. That's the movie, and both are worth watching, but. Yeah, it's those go with 82. There's a 4-point difference. So I think. So what do you give the remake? You said 83 for the original, I think. Right?
I said 83 for the original. I too am actually going to give the remake an 82 because once again, talk about entertainment. There's entertainment. There's action. There's plot. There's character growth. You're talking about stuff intertwining. There's a great ending and an opening. I would want to see another. I would want to see another one if they were to do it, bringing back the cast of characters.
Yeah,
is it going to be as good? Probably not.
No,
but I want to see it. I would want to see it, but I would still say watch the first one and then watch the second one because I put them both like very similar. But I like the original one just for a slightly more of it. Like I said, identify with it a little bit more than There's suspension of disbelief. It's a movie.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit more realistic. Like I said, there's a scene in there where like. Gyllenhaal does like a dragon screw leg whip on McGregor, like on a stone, like ripped up stone floor. Just and at one point picks him up and like they basically off a 2-foot drop, like slams him and they just get back up and keep going.
Yeah.
The piano's out of tune, like they're.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of cool scenes in it, but like I said, like the fights a little bit more realistic. Both great movies. See both.
To me, the funny thing, the biggest suspender for disbelieving for me was the boat chase when he it was all CGI when he crashes the raft. He's going into the bad guy's boat. He like flies into the perfectly grabs it. Yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
I was watching it. Yeah, when you were watching, I was watching. Wow, this is wow.
Like the transport. Yeah, that's almost on like a level. This is where Transporter jumped the shark for me in the second Transporter movie when he has a bomb under the car and he does this I'm just gonna jump my car over a thing and the car's gonna flip him in air and this crane is gonna scrape the bomb off the bottom of my car as I go by because I'm Jason Statham. So. Yeah, so anyway, we'll have to do those movies too. But yeah, so I think that's the only part that really, I agree. The fight scenes were,
once again, it's cool. And the art, I love them. Still, for what it was, I think the original a little bit more realistic than the new one, but newer one. Going to a movie to be entertained, you're gonna be entertained either way. You're gonna be entertained. Going to seeing the new one.
We're gonna have to play that clip every time for episodes. Are you not entertained? Yeah, I agree. So I think that wraps up our episode 8, our first Face-Off edition.
Yeah,
I think we'll do. I like this. I like being able to get two movies out that are like the remake of each other and be able to compare them. So we'll probably do another one of these in the future.
There'll be a lot of them.
Yeah, because thank you, Hollywood, for having an original idea of doing a bunch of remakes. So yeah, we'll be able to do quite a few of these, I think. So yeah, I think until next time, let's sign off. Do you have a tagline you're working on?
No, I got This one I think I've used before, but I'm going to use it again. Remember, life's too short for crappy movies, but still, probably watch them anyways.
Nice. Good night.